Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to PhotoBiz Live. This is John from the PhotoBiz team, and today we are joined by Jeff Shaw for a webinar about prosperity with purpose and being successful doing what you're meant to do. Just a brief little background bio on Jeff. First and foremost, Jeff is awesome. I had the pleasure of meeting him at his platform class at Imaging USA at Phoenix this year. And super nice guy. Him and Warren are really great guys, really knowledgeable, and they're inspirational too. When you get to talk to them, it's just you feel empowered, no matter what they're talking to you about. So Jeff is based in Manhattan, and he's been a portrait photographer for exclusive clientele for 30 years. He's had portraits that have appeared in all kinds of places like the Oprah Show, CBS News, People Magazine, New York Family Magazine, just to name a few. He's also a trained business coach and an inspiring public speaker, like I mentioned. He travels all over the nation, photographing his clients at destinations that are meaningful to them, but he provides a lot of workshops and seminars for fellow photographers. So not only is Jeff a great photographer, but he's also a great teacher and mentor as well. He devotes a lot of his time supporting photographers and with individual coaching. And he has a dynamic 6-month photography business mastermind program. He's built a business of uncommon success and a meaningful life on instinct rather than rules, and uses vision instead of circumstances. That's what Jeff's all about. So we'll get to Jeff here in just a moment. We're also going to have a QA session at the end of the webinar. You may submit your questions. There's a chat tool that you can use, and they'll be answered after the presentation. You can also join us in discussion on Twitter by using the hashtag PhotoBizLive. Just a side note, if you have at any point during today's webinar, if you have any difficulty hearing the speaker or seeing the slides, please use the comment box. Let me know. I'll see what I can do to help you out with that. And then also, we're going to be recording this webinar. So, if for some reason you have to go or, you're having issues, keep in mind that we'll have it posted to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/photobiz. So with that being said, I'm going to turn things over to Jeff, and I hope you guys enjoy. This is going to be a great webinar. So Jeff, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, thank you, John, for that stellar introduction. And hello, everyone. Glad to be here. Right before we get going, I just want to let you know of one important thing, and that is that I've created a sticky album. If you're not familiar with sticky album, they're downloadable digital albums for your mobile devices, your phone, iPad, etc. So I've created a sticky album of the entire presentation, the visual presentation that you're going to see today, and I will provide that. I'll be emailing a link to all of you so that you can download it to your phone. That will really help you kind of stay in the moment of the presentation and not feel like you have to take a lot of notes. So just know that anything you see on a slide, you're going to get in the sticky album, so you don't need to write it down. You can just write it down, all my other incredible words of wisdom. So, the title of today's program, Be Successful Doing What You're Meant to Do. Okay, that's the point, isn't it? Isn't it the dream of every creative person to be successful doing what they're meant to do? But it's not so easy, is it? Every one of us as photographers and artists have talents that we want to share. We live our life and our careers from a sense of purpose, a mission, whatever you want to call it. We've been drawn to our careers from a deep sense that this is what we're meant to do. We're choosing what I refer to in my coaching practice as purpose-driven careers. So, let's face it, it's not like someone wakes up one morning and thinks, wow, I'll be a photographer. That's an easy road to riches, because it's not. Something deeper, something much deeper and meaningful is driving you to be a photographer, something deeper than money. Yet we want and deserve to be financially successful doing what we love to do. The problem is there are simply inherent conflicts in being in a purpose-driven career. So it can be challenging to charge fairly for what comes easy to us, because our talents do come easy to us. And that can bring up conflict about charging for it, if you will. Creative people are also typically very generous. It can be easy to give yourself away from an intended act of kindness without realizing what really serves people, what really serves your client, is getting them to commit to the process and showing your commitment to them. And the fact of the matter is that money creates commitment. Creative entrepreneurs also just want to do what they love to do, and the business part can become a hurdle. Okay? It's one of the reasons is it's challenging to create a non-traditional business, which is what we have created as photographers. We're creating a non-traditional business in a world that runs on a traditional profit-driven business model. So in a way you could say we have purpose and they have profit, but we all want both. So that's why I actually refer to all my speaking engagements as prosperity and purpose, because that's the promise that I believe is possible, and what I want to offer is that possible for everyone, that you can do what you're meant to do, what you love to do, and be financially successful. I know this because I've done it more than once for myself, and I've helped dozens of other photographers do the same. Okay? So I've come up with what I believe is the magic formula, if you will. One day, a member of my team, just casually said to me, Jeff, what does it take? What are the three things that a photographer needs to be successful? And here's my answer. Okay, and this is what our webinar today is going to focus on. We're going to break down what each of these three things really mean, so that you have a map to be successful doing what you're meant to do. And I really want to provide you hopefully with a map, because you know what, I know as a photographer myself that there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of different viewpoints from different trainers and mentors, and it can just all get really confusing. The fact of the matter is there's no just one right way. However, I can tell you that these three things you have to have in order to have a successful and prosperous business. That's why prosperity is in the middle. The three things you have to have is, one is purpose. Okay? You have to know why you do what you do and who you're meant to serve. You have to take positive action. What is it that you need to do? What are the action steps that you need to take in order to have what you want? And you have to have empowering beliefs, getting whatever holds you back in your head out of the way so that you're empowered to move your business forward. Okay, it literally takes all three. Okay, the first of these three needs, the first of these three things you need to be successful doing what you're meant to do is purpose. So why is it important that you know your purpose, why you do what you do? For two reasons. One, it's what gets you up in the morning. Again, we're building a business from a deep sense of purpose and meaning. And when you understand your purpose, it's what gets you up in the morning. It's what keeps you going, even through the tough times. Okay? It takes the feeling that what you're doing, what you're meant to do, and it makes it real. So when you understand your purpose, you can have a practical application for what you feel on the inside. And the second reason it's important to know your purpose, why you do what you do, is it makes you recognizable. So let me explain that one. Okay. So in the world of business nowadays, there's a lot of talk about finding your tribe, finding perfect clients. The fact of the matter is that philosophy, that idea is upside down. Nowadays, it doesn't work that way. It's not your job to find anyone. The way it really works today is we have to be found. Okay? And in order to be found, you must be recognized. People have to recognize in us what they believe and value, and feel that they found someone that shares those beliefs and values. Our best clients show up because they believe what we do. We share the same values. Okay, so this is why it's important that you know why you do what you do and what you believe, so that you can be found by the people that you're meant to serve. So if in your business now, if you don't feel like you're working with the clients that you want to be working with, it's because you haven't told them and shown them what you believe, what you value, and what you're all about. Okay? You put yourself out there in a way that people can recognize in you who you are, why you do what you do, the right clients will show up. Okay, so you have to know your purpose and why you're a photographer. So this is me as a baby. I know, really, really cute, right? So let me tell you the significance of this photograph. A number of years ago, I'd say about 15 years ago, midway through my career, I was in a group coaching session on the phone with about 16 other other people and a coach. And the coach says to me, Jeff, you work with the passion of someone who's like founded a nonprofit organization. Why do you work so hard? And I just, glibly said, oh, I don't know. I just like to work. I just work hard. And he said, no, there's no way. Being a photographer is not the easiest career in the world. Like, why do you work so hard? And I just, casually said, oh, I don't know, I'm the youngest of 3 boys, and I've only found one photograph my whole childhood, so maybe I'm out to save all the other third children of the world. And as casually as I said that, I have to say that really rang true for me. After the fact, I realized, wow, that really felt right to me. And more importantly, I came to realize with my newfound understanding of myself, I started looking at my clients differently. Okay? And what I realized is that the way I had acted and behaved in my business all along spoke to that truth of just having one photograph as a child. So after understanding why I was a photographer, I realized that while my clients come to me for portraits of their families and their children, it's what I call their acknowledged need. The acknowledged need is the thing that people know to ask for. But what really mattered, and what will matter for you, is when you're addressing a far deeper need for your clients. It's what I call the deeper need. It's what they really want that they don't even know to ask for. Turn this around in your personal life and think about, if you do something for your significant other that they asked for, it makes them happy. And that's a good thing. But when you can do something for somebody that means the world to you, and it's something that they didn't even know to ask for, but you knew they wanted, that's a home run, right? Same thing for our clients. The deeper need I realize that I address for my clients, my own unique clients, is that I help them be the most responsible parents they can be. Now, I assure you, in 30 years, no one has ever contacted me and said, hey, Jeff, can you help me be a responsible parent? But I know that this is what they want, because when I contact them to let them know that we need to photograph, the younger child, younger sibling, because we photograph the older siblings at the same age, they're grateful. It doesn't feel like sales to them. When I contact them and let them know that we need to schedule their annual summer session or their holiday card session, they're grateful. It never feels like sales to them. Okay? It's because when you speak to someone's deeper need, it never feels like sales to them, because you're satisfying something that they would have wanted to take care of. Okay? Now, the way to go about this is what I want to share with you as well. And I just want to reiterate. Now, knowing my story of only having one childhood photograph, doesn't it make sense that I would serve a clientele who has a deeper need to be responsible parents? I mean, boy, when you get that, it's a big aha moment, and you get it, and it changes the way that you interact with your clients from that point on. So here's a way that you can go about it in your business and finding the deeper need in your clients. Now, the cool thing here is that it's not a one-at-a-time client sort of thing. You'll find that there are common values amongst the clientele that you're serving, or even the market you're serving. The fact of the matter is there are, the South has different values than the North. New England has different values than California. There are different values that are in common amongst different socioeconomic groups. So it's not a puzzle that you're trying to figure out one client at a time. It's just looking for what's in common amongst the people that you're currently serving or that you want to be serving. So a great thing to do is to think of 3 to 5 of your ideal clients. Now, I say ideal meaning these are the clients that you had kind of that special click with. Doesn't mean it was the biggest sale, but just the client situations that you just felt like that just went particularly well. Okay? And ask yourself a whole series of questions, such as what I have here for you to look at. Like, what did they ask for, but what did they actually choose? Was there a difference between their acknowledged need of what they asked for and what they actually chose? What did they compliment you on? When people compliment you, especially when people compliment us on things that we take for granted. I'm a complete neat freak. When someone says, oh, Jeff, you're so neat, it means nothing to me because it's so natural to me. So you want to look for the compliments that almost mean nothing to you, to realize, wow, that's just a natural skill you have. People appreciate a natural way of being that you have that is so easy for you that you're not even aware of it. Okay, really cool thing to know. What is something many of your clients say? And where did they come from? Are they from a certain part of town? So what you want to ask yourself, what is in common? Now let me give you a real life scenario of a photographer I was coaching when I was doing this work with her, looking for the deeper need amongst the clientele she was serving, which was A small town, very middle America. She's a very general studio. She photographs high school seniors and families and newborns. And one of the things that stood out to her, she casually said one day, just as I did about my baby photograph, she said one day, a lot of her clients were saying that they used to go to Sears and now they're coming to her. But she was hearing this as an insult. And I've asked a number of other photographers how you would feel if somebody said that to you, and a lot of people see that as an insult. I, however, heard something very different in it. I heard, as I said to her, I said, I think your clients are asking you to represent their upward mobility. They used to go to Sears, now they can hire a professional photographer. In the same way that maybe they used to drive, this type of car, now they're driving a BMW. So in what way can she support her clients in seeing their upward mobility? That's why they're coming to a professional where they used to only go to Sears. So at that point, being really a specialist of high school seniors, she wasn't real focused on her family business and the products and offerings that she could provide, and we changed it up. We made it much more of a focus on large portraits, large wall portraits, wall groupings, which she's doing phenomenally well with, because when she got the deeper need of her clients, again, they weren't going to contact her and say, hey, can you help me tell all my friends that I'm doing better today than I used to? Of course they're not going to say that. But they are proud of their accomplishment, and they wanted to display, if you will, their family as a representation of, hey, I can afford a professional photographer now. Okay, so that's why it's important that you have an understanding of the client's deeper need. Okay, so let's break this down. Now you have a stronger understanding of yourself, your purpose, your story, and you've taken the time or will take the time to get to understand the deeper need of the clients that you want to serve. Here's your next step. Okay, as much as you want to show who you are so that you can be recognized and found by your clients, you also want to be really clear on who you're looking for. Okay, the perfect lists, as I call them, I think is the best tool. The perfect list is based on a really simple philosophy that you can only recognize what you already know. Okay, that sounds deep and heady, but the fact of the matter is we all know that experience where somebody tells you about a movie or a book that you never heard of, and suddenly you see it everywhere. Okay, so imagine the power of that if you clearly know what you're looking for in your perfect client. All right, so what you do is you make yourself a list, as the one on the left, the perfect client list on the left. Make a very detailed list of how your perfect client behaves. Now, if you're not working with, hopefully you can think of a few, 3 or 4 perfect clients. If you can't, just make them up. That's the beauty here. They exist. The people that you're meant to serve, they're out there in the world. They're just waiting for you to show up. Okay, so figure out who they are. This is an old list of mine. I'm constantly changing my list, very organic, but it has things on it like they keep their appointments, they plan ahead, they take my advice, they value my artisanship, they serve the community, they're pleasant to be with. Further down, it actually says they are attractive. Why not? If you're going for perfect. All right, but you want to get super, super clear on who it is that you're looking for so that you can recognize them. Just like, the first time you hear about a movie and then you'll see it over and over again, imagine the power of that if you're really clear on the clients that you want to serve. Now, the second half of the list is the expectations of the perfect client. Now, this is really important. You can't have one without the other. Who do you need to be? What do you need to deliver on in order to deserve the perfect client showing up? Okay, so for example, if you expect your perfect clients to be timely, to show up on time, be prepared for their sessions, then there's a really good chance they're going to expect that you're professional, that you deliver their orders on time, their wedding albums, their portraits, or what have you. They're going to expect that you carefully advise them on how to prepare for a portrait session. Okay, they're going likely to expect that you present your material in an attractive and safe manner, so that they get their portraits safely and beautifully packaged. They're going to expect phone calls or return within 24 hours, emails within 12 hours. Okay, I think you get it. I had a great experience with this last year. I had 2 speaking engagements 2 nights in a row, and on the first night I presented this idea of the perfect lists, and the very next night, just before I'm getting ready to make my presentation, I got an email from a woman who was in attendance the night before, and she said she raced right home after my presentation and she made her perfect client list. And then she made her expectations of the perfect client list and realized, wow, I fall way short. I love the ending of her email, said, no wonder they're not showing up. All right, so the perfect client list, expectations of the perfect client list. This is a fun and creative and energizing way to go about really manifesting the clients that you're meant to serve. Now, once you have found one another, you want to make an easy path for your clients to get to you, to do business with you. I'm always amazed at how challenging some small businesses can make it to simply do business with them. You don't want to do that. You want to make an easy path for your clients to do business with you because you've gone through all the effort of knowing your story, digging for their deeper need, manifesting the perfect clients. You've gone to all that effort. Now make it easy for them to do business with you. From their perspective, you want to put yourself in their shoes and know what's in the way for them. What's in the way for them in hiring you or even doing professional photography? I think one of the best questions you can ask yourself is, what are some of the reasons people might not be hiring me? Okay, great question. You want to know, what are the obstacles? Is it, what I found to be a very common obstacle is clothing. Like, it's challenging for families to figure out how to pull the clothing together, which is why a lot of photographers, and I strongly recommend, that you create a clothing guide. My clothing guide is accessible on a mobile device, their phone and their iPads, so they can have it with them shopping. Okay, website clothing guides are great, but they don't usually bring their desktop to the store with them. So I'm all about having a mobile clothing guide. Pinterest boards are great for clothing guides and ideas like that. But what are some of the other obstacles? Is it challenging for them to make appointments with you? You want to make it easy. You want to make it easy for them to leave messages for you. And by all means, you want to make it easy for them to pay you. I'm always amazed at how challenging it can be sometimes to just simply pay someone. You want to make it as easy as possible. And nowadays, you have so many options available to you, from credit cards over the phone. You can have PayPal on your website. You can have a swiper for your iPhone. Have them all set up. Make it absolutely seamless for people to pay you on their own terms. The reality is, a lot of people pay bills late at night after hours. They're not going to call you and give you a credit card number. But if they can hop over to a payment portal on your website, that makes it easy. And I have to say, that's an area where PhotoBiz makes it really easy using their store. It's actually heavily used by my clients. So it is always in your best interest to make it easy for your clients to do business with you on their terms. All right, so we're kind of rocking this out. I think you're getting the idea. Now, this is when it all comes together. Okay, you've done the work to get clear on your purpose. You've taken the time to stand in their shoes and know who they are, what their deeper need is. Now, you want to assure them that they have found the right photographer for them when they have found you. This is what I call a tribe identifier. Okay, it tells your potential clients what you believe, not what you do. Because if they believe what you believe, they know they found the right photographer. Okay, this tribe identifier, for me, this is the first thing prospective clients see when they go to my portfolio on my website. Before they see a single photograph, they see this, and it reads, "You value your family above all else and are eager to work with a photographer that your children love to be around. If having portraits and albums to preserve cherished moments makes you smile and fills your heart, welcome." Okay? I'm telling them what I believe. This is an incredibly valuable thing to have on your website, marketing materials, however someone is going to be introduced to you. Tell them what you believe. What I'm telling my prospective clients, I'm telling them that I believe that family comes first. I believe it's important that your children love to be around the photographer you choose. And most importantly, I believe in portraits and albums as a way of preserving cherished moments. Okay? Obviously, there's no mention of digital files here. I am calling forward the clients that when they go to my website, as they're probably looking around on the web, when they go to this website, they go to this photographer, they're like, okay, this guy produces portraits and albums. That's also what I want. He's the one for me. All right? I get very few requests for digital files and the such, because I believe I am strongly calling forward the clients that share my belief that portraits and albums preserve cherished moments. All right, so you can see then, hopefully, that this is what pulling your purpose is all about, why it starts with who you are, what's your story, what's your purpose in being a photographer, so that all the way down to your perfect client knowing when they have found you. Now, the second of the three things that you must have to create a thriving business is positive action. Okay, this is the doing part. This is what you have to do in order to get what you want. This little quote, the sun will shine, but you have to meet the sun halfway. This was actually my fatherly advice to my children. They grew up hearing this all the time. Reason being is that, I wanted to have optimistic kids. I wanted them to have a sense that life is good, but I didn't want lazy kids. I wanted them to know, the sun will shine, but you have to meet the sun halfway. And I say the same thing to entrepreneurs all the time. It's like, you have to meet the good life halfway. To get the results you want in your business, you have to take positive action on a consistent basis. Okay? It's what's called the compound effect. There's actually a book to that title, The Compound Effect. Great read, which, by the way, I have all my favorite business books are listed on my blog at blog.jeffreyshaw.com and also my website, jeffreyshaw.com. So both places you'll see my suggested book list, and this is certainly one of them that's on there. So I'm going to share with you what I believe are the 4 best action steps you can take in your business. You can start right away. These are kind of the broad concepts. Within each of these concepts, there are many smaller action steps that you would want to take. But if you can introduce these 4 best practices into your business, you can radically change the results. The first action step is to work on your business more than in it. Work on your business more than in it. And boy, I know it's hard to do, especially in the age of digital photography. But I spend about 60% of my time, my week, if you will, working on my business. That's not post-production stuff, not retouching, not editing, not framing, not designing, nothing that results in the product I'm making. Working on your business is about your marketing, your enrolling efforts, your personal growth, idea generating, exploring with others, anything that is what I call kind of a helicopter view. So you are kind of standing away from your business from a helicopter view, looking down on it. How can I make it better? What can I do to improve? Okay, that's working on your business. And my recommendation is that you devote 40 to 50% of your week doing that. If that doesn't excite you to do that type of work, then you may need to have some discipline and cross time off on your calendar. It's one of the things I love the most about Apple products is that you can create calendars for different colors. What I recommend is create different buckets of color for different marketing efforts or personal growth that you want to save the time for throughout the week, and put it in the calendar. And what's nice is that you can move it around your calendar. So as the week goes on, you can move the pink marketing calendar to a different day if you need to because something came up. But just honor and respect that time, 40 to 50% of your time devoted to working on your business, so you're not just caught up in the day-to-day activities and feeling like a gerbil on a wheel. All right, I can assure you that if you don't commit the time for working on your business won't move forward. And ironically, the more successful your business gets, the more likely it is that you can get to a stagnant point, because you just keep filling it up and filling it up, but you're not taking the time to slow down, work on your business in order to move it forward. Okay. If I have One suggestion for every photographer, it is literally to make a not to-do list. Like, what are the things that you're doing today that you don't need to be doing, that you could delegate or contract out? And I know every photographer is controlling and is a perfectionist, but you can change your mind about how you control. You know, other people can do things for you, and you can just make sure it's done up to your standard. Okay? If you truly don't have the money, and I know sometimes that can be a challenge, I'm all about, you know, investing on things that you can get a good return on that investment. But if you truly don't have the money to do such a thing, then it is even more important that you're disciplined in your calendar, so that the time that you are working in your business, clients, post-production, when that fills up, figure out what you can contract or give away or delegate out so you can make more room, but do not give up the time that you spend working on your business so that you can keep leveling up. Okay, just keep in mind this very fundamental, foundational quote here. Artists get paid for what they create, not for what they do. The value of your time is in what you create, in your photography and in the business that you create that's going to leave a mark on the world. That's your creation. Okay? So take the creation of the business that you want just as seriously and put all your heart and soul into it just as you do your photography. The second action step is to create systems that run your business. Okay? That doesn't mean you have to invest in expensive software. It can mean just be system-minded so that you're not reinventing the wheel. Whether you're a corporation or you're a one-man photographer, you're never too small to think big. Okay? So one of the simplest ways, if you will, to systemize is using draft emails. Okay? Draft your emails ahead of time for all the typical correspondence that you have with clients. When someone inquires about your services, when you let someone know that their online gallery is ready or their wedding album is ready, pre-draft, pre-write emails and store them in a draft box. Or you can actually even save very long emails in a signature. Okay? There's no limit to really what you put in a signature box. The idea is that it's already pre-written. The advantage of having it pre-written is that you can remember to say all things. You know, there's nothing worse than sending off an email to thank someone for booking a session and realizing, oh gosh, I forgot to give them the link to my clothing guide. By having them logically all prepared ahead of time, you're going to be much more consistent and you're going to offer better quality because you're not going to overlook these things. And it can save you tons of time, and you can delegate it. Again, another area that you can save yourself some time is because if the emails are pre-drafted, somebody else can send it. There can be a system and a procedure in your business, even automation, that can send the email at certain trigger points. The other great way, I think, to systemize is to create what I call recurring tasks. So, for example, when I put an online gallery or a gallery online for a client, my clients know they have 2 weeks to enjoy their online gallery. When I do that, when I put it online, I immediately make a task for 1 week later so that I'm reminded to contact that client to make sure that their follow-up appointment gets scheduled. And then when I contact them, I take that task and I roll it into a recurring task 3 days later so that if I haven't heard from them, it's yet another reminder. So the loop is never open for me. By creating these recurring tasks where you can just roll the date, you can close the loop on everything. So it closes the gap on sales that were never closed, all the things that you did during the busy holiday season that people never got around to placing the order. Create a system for yourself of recurring tasks so all those gaps and circles and loops get closed. Of course, your workflow, your production, it's another system. It can be managed by software. It can be something as primitive as file folders or a whiteboard. But of course, you want to have a system to your workflow and production such that if you were to step out of the business, somebody stepped in, they would be able to run it for you. Okay, so you're never too small to think big. Create systems for yourself. The third is to have an ability to observe and respond. This is the third best practice. Okay? This is largely about having a willingness to change, because it's actually one of the most subtle action steps, if you will, but it is perhaps the one that most guarantees a future, because by having a keen sense to observe and respond, you're staying in the game. You're keeping your business relevant. You're being keenly aware to what changes are going on in society and even in your industry so that you can adapt. This is a critically important concept to making sure you have a business for the long haul. You want to observe how society is changing and how your industry is changing. Change is a new moment in which you can dance. Okay, we don't want to get too hung up on the way things were. Change is a new moment in which you can dance. So take advantage of the observation of what's new. How are things changing? And society is always changing. One example, take the value of time. You know, some people see value in having a lot of your time. Other people see value in your ability to save them time. And we don't ever quite know who's visiting our website. So on our website, do you promote that you give 3-hour sessions, or do you promote that your sessions are 45 minutes? It depends who's looking. You know, somebody who wants to have a lot of your time might appreciate the 3-hour session. But to a young mom with little children, a 3-hour session might scare the daylights out of her. All right? So you want to use language that is in observation of that change in society, that there are people that value time differently. The fact that men are much more involved in the photography process than they used to be has had a big impact for a lot of photographers, because now it means husbands and wives have to get together, more calendars to get together for sales appointments, which is not always easy. A lot of photographers are encountering the fact that the high school senior just doesn't see their senior portrait as important as it used to be. Okay? Not all, but some. So what can you do to raise the value of why it's important to still get a high school senior portrait? Okay, so that's why it's important to have this very keen sense of observation with what's going on in the world around you and in your industry, and a willingness to respond, a willingness to change. The fourth is to drive markets rather than being driven by them. Okay, so this is about being proactive, and if there's one place to be controlling, it is kind of in this idea of really being proactive about your business. So going into your year, know really how many weddings, how many portrait sessions, how many high school seniors, whatever services you offer. Know ahead of time really how many sessions you want to do or need to do in order to meet your financial goals. You know, using your current average sale or the average sale you want, times or divided by the amount of money that you want to make, need to make to meet your expenses and your salary. I mean, how many portraits, how many weddings, how many high school seniors do you need to do? Know these numbers early in the year so that you can then create a marketing plan that you make sure supports that. Okay? You can also be incredibly proactive by creating specific events for your clients. If you participate in silent auctions, you know, don't wait around for auctions to contact you. We do a lot of research on finding what are the auctions that we want to participate in. What auctions are out there that our perfect clients are in attendance? And we contact the organizations and say, hey, we want to donate to your organization. Few people are this proactive, but it's being that proactive and driving your business that will make a huge difference. Now, the third of the 3 components that you need to be successful doing what you're meant to do is converting what may be limiting beliefs to empowering beliefs. Okay, change your impossibilities into possibilities. In other words, you don't want to trip over what's at your feet, stepping into what you really want. Okay, and sometimes or often what trips us up is ourselves. Most people, in one way or another, often say that they are their own worst enemy, that they are what gets in their own way. And it's just true of humans, you know. So this is probably the deepest. And working with empowering beliefs and limiting beliefs is the deepest of the personal work, and quite honestly, one that typically needs support because we can't see what we don't know. It's the complete opposite of the perfect client list, where you're going to you can only recognize what you already know. This is sort of the complete opposite, that you can't get past what you don't see. I'll give you kind of a quick real-life story of one of my coaching clients. I had been working with her for a while, and We got on a call just recently, and she apologized for not completing some projects that she was working on, and even went as far as saying that it seems to be a pattern in her life. Things were left incomplete. And I said to her, well, what are you afraid of? And she said, it's really funny that you would say that. What am I afraid of? Because she's been confused about that lately, because she was recently skiing for the first time in 15 years. And going up the chairlift, she expressed to her friend how frightened she was. Like, she was just afraid of the chairlift, and now she had to ski down this mountain by herself. And this is not someone that you see much fear in. And her friend said to her, well, that's odd, because it was just a few years ago you jumped out of an airplane. So she was telling me this story, and I thought, wow, that is interesting. And I said to her, well, what was the difference to you from jumping out of an airplane with no fear versus skiing down a mountain and having fear? And she said, well, when she jumped out of an airplane, I was tethered to somebody else, so they were responsible for whether I landed safely or not. And I thought, how interesting, as I pointed out to her, that she had more trust in being tethered to someone jumping out of an airplane as opposed to trusting herself and her own capability to ski down a mountain. And I have to say, this was a huge breakthrough moment for her to realize that she had this limited belief that she was not capable. Okay. Now, the benefit of getting an understanding of what's holding you back is so that you can make a different choice. Now, and in her case, as is often the case, I said, well, now you're empowered. Now you have an empowered belief. You're empowered to make a choice. And you could make a choice here. You can continue to work through the limiting belief, and that can be very noble, and that's terrific, and it's probably a good idea to do so. Or you can also just recognize that there are times that you're just not going to get past that. So from a management perspective in her business, just, maybe you're going to get everything 90% done and then have somebody else finish it. Have somebody else cross the finish line with it. If you know that that is your limiting belief, that you're just not capable of getting it done, you don't trust yourself to finish the project. So the benefit of really getting an understanding of your limiting beliefs is so that you can make a different choice. Okay. Now, finally, you're at the part where you get to have what you were seeking. You've presented yourself for who you are, been recognized by the people you're meant to serve. You've taken tons of positive action steps to support those intentions, and now you get to have prosperity. That's awesome. That's what you came for. So, again, this is how you build a thriving business. This is how you can be successful doing what you're meant to do. Now, seriously, it isn't much more complicated than this. I'm not saying it's easy. But if you take all the content, all the information that's out there, and just look at in what way is this information serving you on your purpose, your positive action, or your empowering beliefs. If you go about your business knowing that if you focus on these three areas, I will almost go as far as to say you're guaranteed success. Okay? You need to work on your purpose, knowing why you do what you do, what's your story, and who you're meant to serve. You need to take consistent and positive action towards that which you want. You have to meet the sun halfway. And you have to get out of the way limiting beliefs so that you have a choice and you turn them to empowering beliefs, that you are empowered with choice. Okay? So, in a moment, I'm going to hand this back to John in a moment because he's going to open it up for some Q&A in our last 15 minutes. I do want to thank PhotoBiz. I love the entire PhotoBiz team. I kind of consider myself a PhotoBiz junkie. I think I've bought most every product. Well, by the end of today, I may have completed that intention. I want to let you know that to keep an eye out for an email from me. It'll come to you in the next couple days. Well, here's what I want to offer you. One, as I said, I want to make sure that you have a sticky album of today's presentation so that it's visual reminders. Just have it on your phone. You get stuck, just go back to your sticky album on your phone and say, oh, that's what that guy Jeff was talking about. Just use it. Use it as a tool to remind you and inspire you because that's what I really, really want to do for you. And then in that email, I'm also going to give you a link to 3 of my key e-guides that I have written specifically for photographers. So I think you'll get a lot of good content in there as well. So thank you all for listening in. I'm going to hand it back to John. And John, you're welcome to fire away with whatever questions you might have.
Hey, thank you so much, Jeff. Sorry about that. I was trying to figure out how to unmute my microphone. But yeah, that was really great. And there's a lot of good stuff in there. Jeff, yeah, Jeff is definitely a self-proclaimed PhotoBiz junkie. I know we had that a laugh over over dinner back in Vegas about that after WPPI. So yeah, the floor is definitely open for any questions that anyone has. Just submit the question over in the questions box in the webinar software, and we'll read them back and have Jeff go over them with you if anybody has any questions.
I think sometimes when there aren't questions, it's because I've dumped so much I can be overwhelming. That sometimes it takes a few minutes for the brain to process, like, what did I just go through?
Oh, absolutely,
That's okay
absolutely.
too.
But I have one here from Bonnie Hoskin, and the question for you, Jeff, is: I find finding my purpose very hard to do. What suggestions do you have for finding my purpose?
That's a great question, Bonnie. Thank you for asking that. I love that. I love that you went for something really meaningful rather than, just the concrete, which is fine too. But I really appreciate that first question. Wow. Boy, I hesitate to say it this way because I don't want it to sound wrong, but hire a coach. And I truly don't mean that to sound like a sales pitch. But that to me was the most valuable thing I ever did in my career. I hired a coach pretty early on in my career, and ironically, I hired a coach on the years that my business was doing its best, which is different from most. Most people turn to coaching or support when the need is there. For me, the need was different. It wasn't a need to necessarily change my business, although it dramatically did. The need for me was because I had found myself having a business much bigger than I ever dreamt, and I wasn't happy. I had the prosperity, but I didn't have the purpose. And that's the risk of not knowing that, is that should you be so fortunate to have everything you want does not mean that you'll be happy. And I wasn't sure what I had built, why I was doing what I was doing, and I really need to kind of get in touch with that. So that's certainly one vehicle. The other, I'll give you I'll give you a fill in the blank sentence, Bonnie, and see if this helps you or anybody else. I am blank who or that blanks. Okay? Now, I know it's an odd sentence, but you want to fill it in. I am blank, meaning, and I know it sounds corny, but give yourself a metaphor. Like, what's an animal? What's your favorite animal? What's a tree? Whatever. What is it that something represents your energetic quality? Okay. When I did this the first time, I came up with chameleon because I'm extremely adaptable. Not in a negative way, but I can be in a lot of different environments. So I am a chameleon. And then who/that. So I am a chameleon who, and actually I finished my sentence with, that witnesses the full potential in others. Okay, so that's a tool. It's a coaching tool. So I am blank, who or that blank. So it's kind of just a fun practice. You can certainly do that. And I'm also a ferocious reader. And again, I have suggested books on my blog and on my website. And if you dig through, I give a brief description of each book. They're actually linked directly up to Amazon, so you don't have to hunt for it. Just click on the photograph. It'll take you into Amazon. So I'm sure you'll find some great books that will help you get to your sense of purpose as well.
Awesome, Jeff. The next question that I have here is from Scott Wall, and the question says, technology seems to be racing ahead of my comprehension sometimes. How do you take control and simplify your perspective on how to use those changes in your business model so you don't go crazy thinking about it?
Wow, great question. Boy, you're asking one of the least equipment-oriented photographers, and I guess that's my answer. Here's the thing with photography today, and I think this will come around, Scott, to answering your question, although it's kind of a roundabout way. One of the core issues we deal with in business nowadays is what I call information equality. The fact of the matter is that our clients can have the same camera as us, and it didn't used to be that way. I mean, there was a distinctive difference between professional cameras and amateur cameras. That distinction is gone. I mean, it's sort of, there's an equality to the equipment, if you will. So then you have to ask, so what's the difference? What's the difference we can make? Well, it comes down to the images that you create, the service that you provide. Those are the two key components to differentiating yourself from the masses. The images that you provide and the service that you provide. So, I don't spend a lot of time getting overly hung up in the equipment. What I want to always look for is, as far as new technology, or what ways can it save me time, or can it benefit my clients? In systems like PhotoBiz have, I don't spend countless hours dealing with my website or even the creation of the website because they make it simple. So I look for more technology, if you will, to save me time, benefit my clients, than I necessarily do to keep up with the latest and greatest of photography. Did that feel like that was a clear answer to you, John?
I think so, and if Scott wants to add to that, I'll be happy to read that back to you too, Jeff.
Okay, I just want to make sure he gets what he wanted.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Scott, if you had something else that you want to add to that question, just feel free to put it into the questions box, and I'll pass that along to Jeff. Moving on to the next question. This one's from Belay DeGata, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name there. It says, you mentioned setting up draft email. Once you send that draft, it is not there anymore to be used again. Unless you know or have a trick that I don't have, will you please explain? I use Gmail.
Awesome. Yeah, copy and paste. So I have them all sitting. I personally use them in a draft box, although I know people that literally put an entire email in the signature. And the nice thing about the signature is that you can name it, so you can actually give name to the draft email. So I have to say, putting them in the signatures does work. But for me, I already have some 50 draft emails in a draft folder. So I just haven't adapted my system, and it works fine. So yeah, they're sitting in a draft folder. I copy and paste it into a new email, tweak it up, put the client's name in, change the first sentence or so, because I certainly don't want it to read like a draft email or that it's cold. But I'm also not afraid to look a little automated to my clients, because I want to let them know they're in good hands and it's systemized. So copy and pasting from, because I hear what you're saying, it's kind of an obvious thing, but yeah, if you send it from the draft box, it's no longer there. Just leave it in your draft box, copy and paste it into a new email.
And there's something I actually can add to that too, Jeff. Being that you mentioned that you use Gmail, there's a little plugin that you can use with Gmail, or if you're using Google Apps, the Business Suite. That's actually what we use here at PhotoBiz internally for our email. And in my experience, I worked on the passionate support team for 6 years before I took over more of a role in our marketing side of things. And there's a plugin that I use called Canned Emails, and you can do it through Google Labs. So if you're a Gmail user and you like to kind of keep everything under that one control panel, you can use that, and it's a free plugin. So it's really, really useful. It's something that we use a lot internally here. So just to add on to that is another way of doing it. Same concept though in terms of copy and paste and using a folder. So that's a great question, Bly. And just to follow up with Scott, Jeff, he says that he's got it, and thank you. That there seems to be so many options out there, and he sees what you mean. So I think we got Scott all taken care of too.
Excellent. Good.
Awesome. So does anyone else have any other questions for Jeff, or before we wrap up today? Awesome. Well, I think we are all set then, Jeff. I want to thank everybody for their great questions today, and thanking Jeff for taking the time out of his day to present for us today. So it's really an honor every time that we have someone that goes out of their way to help us out and do these webinars, because they're really great for not necessarily for PhotoBiz, but just for the photography industry as a whole. I love to spread knowledge and be more of an industry resource. So thank you very much, Jeff. And just remind everybody that a recording of today's webinar will be posted to the PhotoBiz YouTube channel at youtube.com/photobiz. I'll be passing along that URL to Jeff as well, so he'll also he'll have it out on his social media, I'm sure. And be sure to check out our blog and check your email for future updates about future webinars, because we've got some really great stuff coming on. And if there's ever something that you think of that we've never covered in the past, or that you'd like to see us expand on, feel free to go onto the blog and send us a message and let us know, because we're always open to doing what's popular and doing what people are interested in to really make these worthwhile for folks. So, Jeff, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I don't think so. Again, I want to thank you, John. You're awesome. You're always a good time. Love what the whole team is doing at PhotoBiz. And again, just to remind everybody, keep an eye out for an email so that I can make sure I get that sticky album to you, access to the e-guides, and by all means, stay in touch. Follow me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter. I love to interact with photographers and find out what's going on in their world. And on places like Facebook and such, and my blog. I'm always putting out a lot of content, which just look at it as free coaching. You'll get a lot of insights that way. And anytime I create a new e-guide, it goes on all my social media, so people that are following me can get it for free. So I'd love to build a community to stay in touch.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you again, everybody, for joining us today. And I hope that everybody has a great rest of the week. That's going to conclude this episode of PhotoBiz Live.